social initiatives in the global south. I was thinking what I should say about it, but probably I want to address this issue from a slightly different angle, the angle of production or generation of thoughts and even philosophy in the midst of struggle. Philosophy and thoughts which are not conventional, which are not following what the government says, what our companies say, and what even NGO or United Nations say. Well, I'm an old man, therefore perhaps I have the right to go back. I mean, I'm talking a little bit about one of the longest struggles in Japan. That is a struggle against the airport, Narita Airport, which is the main Tokyo International Airport even now. But still not really functioning. It's, the struggle on the surface is over, and but the trace is still there. But it is there that we saw the birth of very interesting sort of process in which people involved in the struggle, on the front of the struggle, began to think differently and began to see things differently. It was an extremely violent and confrontational struggle in the 60s. And 5,000 police were mobilized, fully armed like army, and the village people who formed the struggle league divided themselves into old men's brigade, women's brigade, youth brigade, etc. And the confrontation, death also were involved, and so on. I'm not talking about that, but definitely young people of the youth brigade, young at the time, now old. At the midst of the struggle, we had discussion, very interesting discussion, which was recorded and made into a book. The title is The Necrosis of Landscape. Necrosis is a sort of partial death of organism with poison or anything. They capture what was happening as the gradual process of death or killing of landscape, quiet landscape. They discuss it, and it had a very new meaning to them, as well as to the people who read the book. Landscape is not just a view, not a vista. It's history. Forest, that's a very rich area with production of various things, particularly peanuts and so on. And forests there, which are used by villagers as commons, etc., etc. So they were grown up in that landscape, and they grasped the landscape as part of themselves. So it is this landscape that is gradually destroyed, gradually torn down, and being turned into concrete runways and barbed wire. So it's this landscape. It is not just land that is taken away. but this landscape that was being destroyed. So they are just ordinary farmers. And some of the young people had some college education, but they are very intellectual. They really began to think about what they were experiencing and renew the idea of landscape. And also one more important discovery they made was about land. The government came not only with the police, but also with money. Bundles of banknotes came, and came with smiling officials. And formidable police and smiling officials both tried to capture the mind, not only the land, but also minds of the farmers. Some, of course, capitulated, and they sold land. The discussion by the youth brigade people at the time went on and on about this. What is the meaning of this? Finally, they came to the distinction between land and soil. Land you can sell because that is property. About soil, you can't sell. That is not things that can be cut up. One part sold, one part retained. Not the commodity on which you can bargain the price. It's something else, what it is. Some of the farmers came, it's an old village. Half of the place was an old village. And so from the ancestral time, the land was handed down. But not only that, it's a very, very rich, fertile land. And fertility came, not accidentally, but by their sort of cultivating themselves into the soil. No? It's a sort of fruit of their labor. Not only their labor, the fathers, the mothers, and ancestors' labor. So it's there as such. So what you are protecting and you refuse to sell is that value, that history. So this kind of discussion lasted for a long time in the discussion. That renewed the idea of land grabbing, and so on. Then came an interesting old man. He's dead now, but he's a unique person by the name of Maeda. And he was a farmer. And before the war, he was a member of the Communist Party. He was arrested and stayed in prison for a long time, etc. But he's a unique person, not just Communist Party member. He quit the party long ago. He reminded the people, he moved into the village, and we donated a small house for him to live in. He's a thinker. And also he was a farmer. And he reminded the people that the ordinary Japanese farmer's language says that is that farmers make paddy field. Farmers didn't say they produce rice. They produce skuru. Skuru is make, usually make. But it can mean 10 to, or it has many meanings. But basically it's skuru. Farmers do not skuru rice. They skuru paddy fields. You understand that because produce is, if you produce, then the result is rice. So you cultivate paddy field in order to produce rice, either to eat or sell. But that is a result. What you do actually is to attend to the paddy field. That's a usual usage of the word among farmers. He reminded them. That is, production is utilitarian. So you measure it by the weight of the yield. But the purpose is, of course, producing rice. But the action is the interaction between the farmer and the paddy field. That's the idea. So this kind of thinking, you could call it philosophy, was developed in that period. And that is the basis of environment consciousness that started really in that period. And it was not the only source. Various confrontational struggles and other struggles by most peripheralized communities characterized the Japanese environmental movement. That's a difference between Europe and Japan. In Europe, environmental movement came from urban intellectuals, basically. But in the Japanese case, it came from struggles against nuclear power stations, struggle against imposition of development projects. And so it's anti-developmental or critical of the basic idea of development. So it's a remaking of the paradigm. I think the struggle or the initiative for change, alternative initiative, certainly must involve, I mean, I don't say should involve, but must be already involved in some creation of new ways of thinking. The same thing is seen in a different light, a different perspective, and probably in most cases in some certain historical context. And I think it's very important. And I'm sure that we are experiencing the second wave, at least, of a major second or third or fourth, I don't know, but a global wave coming up. As Sall mentioned, this kind of horizontal sort of self-organizing movement is a new spirit, and perhaps in that, as well as in other types of movement, there should be discoveries of the world, a new way of looking at what we thought that we know. In order to dramatize it, I compare two cases. One case is this. That is the new understanding of the environment. The other is the understanding developed or expressed by major trade union. The pollution was prevalent, and it was destroying many things. At that time, what the major trade union did in its policy is like this. In Osaka, air is polluted. Therefore, if you have laundry, you get it polluted. You can't dry your clothes. Then, how much money you need to send it to laundry, professional laundry, and that portion should be added to your wage increase demand. So these two approaches are so strikingly different. And I think we need to approach the problematic from a point of view which is not economistic. Economy and economic factors are there, and we shouldn't neglect it. Yet, whether from what point of view we approach that problem makes great difference. And that is I think I'm telling about the old story, but it's not all. The story itself, I think, still remains. Thank you very much.